Warm greetings. We welcome all of you to another session of Friday Waters on behalf of W for W Foundation. The idea of Friday Waters is to make Fridays fun-filled and yet add fruitful activities for the future generation. The focus of Water Arts is on bringing the artists who have done or are doing art-related activities around water on this session to discuss the making of the artwork and the issues around the subject covered. Besides bringing interest in water conversation, this will increase the outreach of the art, music in the water networks and in the society at large. For today's session of Water Arts, we will walk through with Navina Jafa. So welcome Navina on this session, and we are live with you, and we are also recording this session with your due permission taken before I started speaking. So a brief introduction of Navina so that we can take more time from her to speak. Navina Jafa is a cultural activist, an academician, and a renowned performing artist. Having pioneered academic cultural tourism, her work has reached out to academicians, high-level political and economic delegates, students, corporate executives, and children. She is the director at the Indian Cultural Heritage Research, which is her own baby. And rest of the things we can just look at later on in the chat box, because I really want to capitalize her time because she has given a very strict schedule for us. So welcome, Navina, and over to you to really give us some enlightenment how performing arts can bring a cultural change in the society. Over to you.
Thank you, Trushaka, and thank you for inviting me to the question of water. As a performing artist, as a dancer, as a person working on heritage, it becomes even more a matter of concern when we go into the field and we see the lament with regard to water. And first, when I say ours, my colleague Shailaja Kathuria and I had understood that the world of performing arts can be a great modality of entertainment, of education and entertainment. So way back in 2007 at Brandeis University, when I was teaching there as a Feldman scholar in the United States, I had developed a model on using performing arts for development communication. And within this, you have the pyramid of not only identifying the target audience, but the major rule being development from below, not development from top. And how do you make development participative? So whatever rules there are for any human issues, how do you create a wider stakeholdership for that concern, crossing all ages? Music and dance are two modalities which are ingrained in human societies from such an ancient time. My problem becomes when music and dance becomes a one-time event. And I look at the whole terrain and the psychology of an advertisement industry. And it is in that industry that we find that, that there's this question of repeating. And when you make the repeats, then it becomes very interesting that we all sing the jingles of Vajradanti, of Cadbury's, of Life Boy Hai Yahan Zindagi. We repeat this, we learn this. And this kind of urgency of relating, that people are only talking about, you go to buy Pepsodent or Close-Up, but you will only say Colgate. And you will go to buy mosquito repellent, but you will say good night. So the brand and the value of a certain need to be fulfilled has to be constantly repeated. So the first example I will illustrate, because speaking big it doesn't matter. But what I have tried to do in order as a performing artist, how do you bring impacts and social change through that wide application of development communication? My first opportunity came when the Election Commission of India had commissioned me to create a Behrupia Yatra to get the registered women voters who were missing as missing voters, even if their names were on the register, to come and vote. Now, my model, which I developed in Brandeis, was that you may have a performance, but you must have a modality of conversation and surveys. So, first of all, who's a Behrupia? Behrupias are traditional impersonators, and they work within a community especially in Karnataka, in Rajasthan, in UP, in Madhya Pradesh, where they have judgment, they are bound in the judgmani economic systems, which means that for generations they have had clients of different family, and in different seasons they do a circuit and they do the performances. And they perform in singing genealogies, performing for merchants, for farmers, for landed aristocrats who have been a part of the ecosystem for many generations. So the Behrupias, we got them together. There were about 9 Behrupias. And we told them to come up with an idea that we had to get and create a play. And since these people work as solo artists, we had to get them to work together. We also got cross dressers to come in, and we also got acrobatic acts. And while we were surveying, we questioned the women, and they said they don't come to vote because for decades and decades they've been promised water supply, and they've not been given water. And this is the reason they will not vote for any government. Now, this calls for and it was in the conversation with the Behrupia. It wasn't only limited to the survey, but it was the conversation in local languages. For instance, one of the Behrupias had become an accountant, a Munimji, and he was wearing a spectacle without any glasses. And he opened his dialogue saying, well, I am wearing air-conditioned glasses, not water cooler glasses. And the women, they jumped on him and they said, but it's good that you're wearing air-conditioned glasses because we don't have any water for your water cooler glasses. And, these conversations which would happen reveal so much of the woman's life. Here she was to cook the food, but had to walk for kilometers to get water for her family. And we had a dance in this, which we thought we could do something more. So the second stage was that we did a Jal Yatra, a Behrupia Jal Yatra. The Behrupia Voters Yatra Barat went to 56 villages in 3 districts of Karoli, Ranthambore, Savai Madhopur, and Dausa in Rajasthan. And the Jal Panchayat, the Jal Yatra went to 20 villages. And the most interesting was when we went to the DM, the district magistrate, that we want to do this yatra. The people who came from the village panchayats, who were invited to understand what we want to do and then to organize our circuit, they were all men. There were no women. And water is so you all work in the field of water. Without women, there is no question of water. Water is so seminal to the idea of the women, and it is very gendered in that sense. And then we realized as we were touring that the sarpanch, who were women, were not actually invited for the meeting.
Yeah.
And we were doing this water yatra. So what we did, we changed the street play, so as to say. And we also introduced Bhavai. Now, Bhavai is a dance which is centered around water, around the woes of a woman going to fetch water from a well which is very far away. And in order to complete the requirement of her family, she is actually walking with not one, not two, but 10 water pots on her head. And so this dance is really a balancing acrobatic dance, but the songs that are sung with it are all water. And these are memories that are lived. These are concerns which have come down through the centuries. Water has been so central to the life of all these people who live in dry areas. The problem becomes with urban areas where you have taken it for granted that you will open a tap and you will get water. It is these communities of, say, the Run of Kutch or in Gujarat, or even in Ladakh for that matter, even in Spiti for that matter, where water is so precious that they know how to live with the bare minimum of water and save water. My latest production, the survey which we did, unfortunately, we were not able to take the Jal Panchayat. We created the Jal Panchayats in these 20 villages. We also spoke to the officers in the forest area. Fozia Tarunum from Terry was very much a part of designing these interventions, and we were hoping to recover a particular lake, a man-made lake, where water was cut off because of the dams that were created in the higher level of this man-made lake. And our plays that we depicted allowed for these conversations to happen with the sarpanch, with the tehsildar, with the patwaris, of how we can together take it to the next level to revive this water body and to create greater value for water supply in the area. Unfortunately, COVID came and we were not able to pursue this and take it further. Hopefully, inshallah, in the coming future, maybe with all of you, we may be able to take this further. I have found that this model, where you bring in, whether it is the concern of water or any other matter, that is the grassroots problem. If you bring it, and here I'm really talking about the people in the lower pyramid, in the lower social pyramid, not the top, not the bottom. It is so important to have these people who lived close to the rivers, who lived close to the water bodies, to bring them into the dialogue of through performing arts. The second thing which I understood was that there was no entertainment available in these areas. So because we did an edu-entertainment modality, it became much more impactful, if I may say so, because it was also not a one-time event. We actually did this 4 or 5 times with different plays on the same matter. And we also provided them different modalities and different solutions of how they can save water. It was also interesting to see that the richer farmers could actually hire tankers, whereas the poorer farmers and their wives had to walk and lots of kilometers to fetch the same water. Recently, an opportunity came, and this was for G20, where water and climate, of course, now in all these international forums, is a major concern. And I said to myself, both environment and music and dance are shrugged off like a fly on the water. The environmentalists are shrugged off because you said, oh, they make too much of noise. And
you nailed it.
And the dancers and the musicians are shrugged off, oh, they are just sheer entertainers. Ye kya karenge, to naachne gaane wale hain. So the dismissal, I was very, very passionate about. And so when I got this opportunity for G20, they gave me a dictate of presenting Braj in Agra. And I said, but none of the Shastras talk about Krishna in Agra. They talks about Krishna and Yamuna
Yeah,
in,
Mathura.
in Mathura Vrindavan. So I crashed my head and I said, oh no, but Yamuna is a uh, connecting a natural resource between Braj and Agra. Although I must say that Agra is at the end of the linguistic geography of Braj.
Yes.
So then I researched and found to my delight Adi Shankaracharya's poem called Yamuna Ashtakam.
Yeah.
And when I started decoding it, there were so many things that would talk about underlying ideas of the power of the water, the pollution in terms of a whirlpool, that the babandar which happens inside, which is pollution. I also realized that when you are surrounded, because you're speaking on or through issues or on issues that can be hugely politicized, which means that there's a lot of money also involved and many stakeholders. Um, I found a way of how to negotiate these issues by being innovative. And one was something which is the biggest buzzword for all human emotions, and that is religion. And
Yes.
then I said, oh, then how do you create the layering interpretation for myths? Because the myths are the backbone of um, religious myths, which are backbone for so many things. And I pulled out the myth of Kalyadaman, which is water pollution. It is
Yes.
actually water pollution. It's a metaphor of water pollution.
Yes.
So in the Yamuna Ashtakam, which I ended up presenting not in Agra, but in the land of Gomati in Lucknow.
Wow. In Lucknow.
And one water specialist said, but isn't Lucknow all about Gomti? I said, shh, we're only suddenly the rivers are being linked.
Yeah, but then Gomati is equally black demon.
But the title of the production was called Yamuna Ashtakam. But I said, no, the rivers are being linked.
They are, by the way, they are
Yeah, I
linked.
know, but in
You
this,
tell.
I told this water person, I said, look, the river is being linked. And I got a standing ovation. There were 28 dancers and performers. I also had a lot of sociological issues. So, when we talk about water and you talk about purity, pollution, and the Dalit not being allowed to come to the well, and all kinds of other stuff going on. Well, let me tell you that when you start working and mixing traditions, is equally challenging in a chaos called India. So you had, for instance, the classical Kathak, which I perform. And I suddenly told Biju Maharaj's son, but I need snake charmers and street magicians to come in. And they said, okay, they can perform after we have performed. And then I said, but then I also need folk performers. Okay, they can come in between for this 1 minute. What I want to tell you that any issue we take up in India, especially, and I'm talking specifically about developing communities and post-colonial communities, which are intrinsically so rich in culture, but have their own extremely complexities of social fabrics. So whenever we raise issues on environment, using the performing arts, there are sociological indications which are complexities both from the point of view of sociological patterning of the human communities themselves and their approach towards using performing arts, engaging with performing arts, and then using them for something as important as geographical resources and water, forest, or any of these, or oceans, any of these bodies. And culture, in fact, is a response to
Yes,
geographical context. Ultimately, culture is because what I do with my culture, what I sing, what I dance, is tailored to the seasons of the geographical context I come from.
absolutely.
So, culture is not just merely dance and music. Culture is everything which we speak, dress, talk, eat, behave. Even as I told you about approaches to water, it's dictated by culture and the geographical context in which human communities live. So, Yamuna Ashtakam was something where I used myth. I used the today's narrative, which is all about Hindutva. What greater saint than Adi Shankaracharya's poetry? And reformatted it. I had the commentary in English so that the idea of Yamuna as the daughter, Kalindi as the daughter of the sun, the, and it's ironical, the sister of the value of time. And today, when we are on the verge of extinction as a human species,
Yes,
thanks to the irresponsibility of human communities with regard to geographical context, natural resources, Yamuna indicates time.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Navina, to bring such an important aspect in such a wonderful and very simple way, because how performing arts can bring cultural change when we are discussing, and we give an example, very simple example of Yamuna. The state of Yamuna is the state of actually society. I mean, we also say in water that Neer or Nari, uh, if it has to be Udar Samaj, it has to be clean and, Aviralta and Nirmalta, let it flow, let it be clean. Similarly, we also say if it is not in a good state, society is Udas, so we are actually talking about Udar Samaj, say Udas Samaj. And we just saw last week, we had the Human Development Index rating, and India performed so well in all human development index, and that can be linked to the state of water, that can be linked to the state of women in the country. And Yamuna has been always indicator of this. Of this, we can actually go back and refer to life of Krishna when we talk about Yamuna and how that was
Ah,
referred.
so, what I did, in fact, something which I missed out was when I was doing this production and talking about Nari, I said, no, 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 no. Krishna can't have Radha and Draupadi and Yamuna.
Yes,
For all what Krishna represents, he has to be monogamous in this way. So
absolutely.
I removed Radha. I removed Radha, and the Ras happened with Yamuna, and her waves became the gopis. And the Ras happened in the midst of the water or through the graphics.
Through the yeah. But if
So,
we see life of Krishna and if we link it with the way water was there in Mathura and Vrindavan, there were the stories of life of Krishna has a lot of metaphorical meanings with the way the water systems were then in those times, even there where Krishna was bathing, to where he was playing with friends, where he met with the snake, where he did all kinds of things, where he was meeting Radha every now and then. All these are so intricately linked with the river systems, water systems out there in Mathura Vrindavan.
yeah. And another thing which I want to tell you that I also do these heritage walks and
Yes.
there I do perform. So it's interesting how we are changing paradigms of certain things, like how many girls actually, even in their weddings, they don't cover their faces. You know, you don't have the
Now,
concept of ghungat anymore. and things like that, and a lot of our nuances from the rural areas regarding water comes from that image of the pitcher, the ghada, and
Yes.
fetching the water. So when I curate walks
Hmm.
on water systems, hydraulic engineering, and river harvesting and water harvesting, uh, it's very, very interesting of how I sometimes link the issue of water to these questions of the step wells, for instance. And the other thing which I find fascinating is that a lot of the water bodies, a huge number of water bodies, have been commissioned by women.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
In,
so when I go to the Patan step well, which is a queen step well,
yes,
or, many other step wells you go, and also how gender and discrimination of the gender comes very, very evident. For instance, I just want to narrate a small story of the Gadyasar Lake in Jaisalmer. And there was a Tillon, a courtesan called Tillon, and she found that people come here to the Gadyasar Lake and worship, and they are, the water in the desert was such a huge issue.
yes,
And so she decided to build a gate and which stands there, the Tillon gate, the Gadyasar Tillon gate. And then suddenly she had a lover who told her that the Ranaji said, "Oh, you're allowing a courtesan to build a gate. And how can you allow her to build a gate? And the whole premises of the water will become polluted." So what she did, as soon as she got the news, she's placed an idol of Krishna on top of the gate, and the gate was never broken down because it suddenly became sacred.
that's interesting because see, if we even till date, if we draw references from life of Krishna, we see how great performer he was at all. At all stages, at all situations, how he was performing, and even if we really limit it to the art part of his performance, coming back to the way how you have been mobilizing, or I can also use the word exploiting the art to really bring a cultural change right from Gram Panchayat and Pani Panchayat, which you have worked extensively on. We can actually discuss how can we upscale it because the Bahurupia Jal Yatra is something which is also very traditionally rich, and also it can be linked to the modern ways of make people emotional, spiritually connected to water. That can be a very
So
good way.
my first thing would be backward integration, because
Yes,
the point is people have heard enough that water is going, at least in the rural areas. They've heard enough. Water is going. They are not voting because they have to fetch the water.
yes,
Now, the point is that small things like a eucalyptus tree grove, which is sucking out all the water
yes,
in the local areas, how do you so if you don't have solutions in the water panchayats which you create, and you
yes,
educate people so that a greater community feeling for water comes, so you can use the arts to reassert the activism stakeholdership, and
absolutely.
people can come again and again, and in that interaction tell their stories that, oh, we tried to do this but we were not allowed to do this. And so what really needs to happen is that when you have the Behrupiya performing, you need to have the Patwari, the Tehsildar, the DM, all these people who need to be there, the the people, the PWD people, the roadways, they all need to be there, and they need to thrash out through the performance what are the issues that should be tackled and how should they be tackled. So that is, and working at a very small area, go area by area. I always feel that if you select a huge ground, ek sadhe sab sadhu. As Kabir would
Hmm.
say that,
Yes, yes,
you know. So what I feel that also it's a learning process because the conversations can start with so the performing arts can do the following function. A, create triggers for the conversation to happen. And every performing exercise must have interaction of with the actors and some people in the audience where these conversations happen. There should always be a pool of people to take down the minutes because it's like a performed meeting that is happening at the
yes,
grassroots through the performing arts. Secondly, post the performance, you must have the main people from the policy, from the execution, in terms of the hierarchies involved, because this is a grassroots social problem that it has to be tackled. And so you bring all of them on one table, and a strategic planning should be there at every point. And then once you give a timeline, okay, we will meet, and this should happen between time A and time B. And we have the next level of performance. The person who curates the performance also keeps a tab of what is the progress. So those kind of issues can be incorporated in the performance on point two. After point two, maybe point three. But this kind of repeating that goes, and the Jal Yatra must move in a circuit. So if it's a particular revival of a water body or if it's another matter, then you must have a circuit of the villages or towns that need to be covered who are instrumental. And in every one of these performing, every say 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, whatever, quarterly, whatever, because things take time. You may have
yes,
the sowing period, you may have the harvesting period where people are not available. So when you have this kind of circularity of performance, then people are becoming more and more attached. Now, funding the performance can become an issue. Now, for that, the Jal Panchayats can also have a membership of the local merchants. And, not too much. If even a merchant gives 50 rupees and there are 50 merchants, it's more than enough.
yes.
It's more than enough that for that Jal Panchayat to happen. 5 or 7,000 locally sitting and doing your performances. Every Rupiah, if he gets about 1,000 rupees a performance or something like that, little things can happen. So there is always a modality where you bring in the stakeholdership. You can do local funding. You can call for a membership of the Jal Panchayat from a local standpoint of view, and then actually get this done.
You put it so nicely. I mean, along with arts, you also told how it can be done, because it is also very important to see that people not only can get connected, but also they can find a way out to solve the problem. And at the same time, few people where the arts can be really revived in this way can also get some livelihood out of it.
Absolutely. And so, because when you're looking for ways to revive and conserve these traditions, it's as vulnerable as the question of water or any other issue.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, if those two, negative and negative, come together, perhaps there's a positive which will
Yes,
happen. And
there is an alternate.
and the other thing is that when these arts, when these little plays will happen, it will also mean skill building, capacity building of developing new kind of ways to project their art. Uh,
Yes,
and also, since there are no movie halls, the electricity may be there. We saw that in COVID, how many people dropped off because people didn't have
cool.
electricity, didn't have internet or whatever in the rural areas. One very important thing is that women are not given mobile phones. And we know that people feel that they will start a hanky-panky behavior. And so the control of the women is a lot to do with not having mobiles. This is both a urban and a rural problem. And so so that there's no entertainment really, except for the marriages and the mood and the community thing, or maybe a religious kind of a thing.
Religious.
But other than that, there's no entertainment for the women. So I certainly feel that a lot of new things can happen in that sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. And an important aspect which I can learn, gain from here, and we can take it further in our future collaborations and all, is that, as you mentioned, that it has to be a circular thing, in every time and again, it has to come back, so that it's a regular process also, because it's a natural monitoring. What is important to learn, that how these art systems or cultural ways can really have a platform to discuss serious issues in a very lighter way, and give room for people to express themselves.
So
In
yeah,
and outside the office, outside the formal environment, they can still discuss and resolve matters and come up with solutions which can be formalized later on.
so, what I found was I'm bringing the Behrupia Voters Yatra, which we did. We did surveys, and in these three districts, in these 56 villages, which we traveled with the Behrupias, with the transgenders. And in the Water Panchayat, we also had the acrobat with 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 um,
Matkas.
with pots walking the tightrope to indicate how difficult it is for the women. So there was a metaphor that was working. I just wanted to
Yes.
mention this. But post the election, there was an increase of 2.1% vote in these three districts of the women who didn't. Yeah. So there is,
So it impacts.
it was
Be-
an, it was an
because yeah, you see, time immemorial, we have seen that art has played a crucial role in bringing a social change. It has not so much as we, of course, always say that science and technology has brought a change, but the way people think, the way people, feel, that their art has played a very, very instrumental role in bringing a change. I mean, so how do you think from here on we can really bring a change? Because one part is tackling water crisis or water problems in the rural areas, but also in the urban areas, you know?
So in the urban areas, I think it is much more challenging. Uh,
Yes,
it is much more challenging in that sense. I One of the things which we can do is that even in the urban, the RWAs, the resident welfare associations, I find that, for instance, in the neighborhood I stay in, the RWAs is a very organized, and they're very committed people. Of course, the infighting of, especially with regard to dogs, happen. And I think that's a universal problem. There are dog lovers and dog haters, and there are constant, when everything is lulled, suddenly you'll have a dog conflict on the WhatsApp group.
not
Okay,
yet water conflict
not
because
what about
everyone
dog
is.
conflict. But what I find very important is that, the idea that uh, WhatsApp messages today are not only about good morning, but also about every second day you have festivities.
Yes,
And then the RWAs become very pressurized in celebrating those religious programs. And this is irrespective. It can be a Sikh Guru, it can be your Eid, it can be your Christmas, it can be the innumerable Hindu festivals, irrespective. Then now, adding to the great Indian celebration are all the national festivals of 15th, and I certainly feel that if every month or so, there are certain programs that are constantly there as entertainment programs,
yes,
where, they used to be, and this is something the local MLA could perhaps give a small fund to the RWAs to allow folk and even classical dancers and all to pick up matters on water. And the
absolutely.
community centers, the local, you needn't have a stage or anything. You can just have a small platform, and that's it, and people sit all around. After all, when you do your Lori celebrations and bagara bagara, people just stand around. So you basically need a wooden platform which doesn't count so much, have live music and it won't cost too much. Have both classical and somebody from your group, to overview, give them a new idea of pulling out from the so many songs that you have or so many poems you have, the question of water. For instance, the Panchtantra story of the
Yes.
crocodile, the monkey and the crocodile is one of them, or the idea of the Nag Kanyas, or you have the Vishnu lying on the deep water. There's so many myths that talk about water, which are always a repertoire of the conventional formats. And from there onwards, I think somebody from your group has to be a great dastan goi and
Yes.
raise that. Okay, what are your water problems, or how can you best save water, and can we do this, can we look at each other solutions. How will people say, okay, you do water harvesting, how does it really happen, who will benefit, which generation will benefit, why will it benefit, what is going to happen next, etc., etc. So I think what will happen in the urban thing is depending on what kind of neighborhood, whether it is a panchayat running a village of an urban village or a properly designated, the RWAs can play a very important way of using the performing arts for the concerns.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, just a curious mind asking you probably one last question. It was not meant to be asking you questions, but I'm just curious because we are having this good one-to-one conversation. You know, because we know art can really touch in through our heart. It is the only way where we can convince people and change people's minds and even emotions. Um, do you think we are really at the advent of this television and all kinds of technological interventions in our personal lives? Do you think at a personal level we are really investing enough to be more artistic in everyday life? I mean, everybody is an artist by virtue of their nature, but are we really using art as enough medium at a social level to bring a change? Is government really
See,
looking at it as a tool?
so I would answer your question one on two levels. One uh, is there a demand for the cultural expressions? And I would say yes,
Yes,
because the large number of dancers and artists, people wanting to be looking high, wanting to, art has become a question of class.
elites. Yes,
No, a class, sense of class. People want to be seen, that, they are seen to go for a heritage walk, for an art exhibition, for a dance program. The number of people I know who are learning music and learning dance is innumerous. So there is a demand because it's become a question of, class. When it comes to social impact, it has to work both ways. The first thing is you cannot be didactic. The
yes,
question becomes the moment you lose your ball game, when you start becoming a seer, saying pravachan. Now you can't. You can do a lot by just creating humor and just sheer entertainment.
yes.
I'll give you an example of practicality. Um, my magicians, street magicians, I did a workshop with them because they are in the street on leadership and public speaking. Who better than the street artist? That
Absolutely.
without having any great whatever, he's able to
Training.
make people pay, and he lives, he survives. So the magicians went to Germany for a street magic festival. Every day they had to report to a police booth where they were told that today this is the public space that you will be performing in. So the ideal word which they use for the master artist and his assistant is jamura. Okay.
Okay.
So the magician went to the police booth with the jamura. And he was told that today and I'm relating to your question, that practicality and not didactic. And he said, Madam Ji, we went and we were told that today our posting is going to be in a nude park. And I looked at him very straight face and I was wondering what lurid response he's going to give me. He said, you know something, Madam Ji, we were coming back. I'm talking about entertainment and humor. We were going to our location and we were very worried. We said, if they are all naked, then how will they pay us? Where is the money? So the practical joy of local humor, it could be slapstick, it could be whatever. Like one of my Berupias became a water gin. And he was found in the Suraj Kund Mela. And this woman came wanting to do an Instagram photograph with him. And he says, I'm the water gin. And I've become polluted. And but I was looking for you, and you are.
But these are so strong ways to really get into people's head and heart.
Yes. So I think urban melas are a great opportunity where you can have like this. We did a beautiful play called Pollution Hazir Hai. And we told the Behrupias that you do what you want, you come up with an innovative costume because they're very good with impersonating through costume. So he turned up with loads and loads of Bisleri bottles all around him, plastic. And that's how he showed pollution. And he had plastic bags. And so I think, and what, even small things, why a play? Even Instagram photographs, for instance, are a great way to hit people with a certain message. So it doesn't, so what I'm saying that you have to be very innovative. Where and how do you reach individual people? You shouldn't put, and a gin can do it, or something else can do it, a magic will do it. Conversations have to happen.
Conversations are important. I think that's the crux of it. Huh?
Yeah.
No, and I think it's also very nice that we are into this conversation for a good time now, and it's very important that we take these ideas into large scale, into other places and all, because having knowing that India has been hosting art culture forever since its inception as a nation, or its inception as a humanity. It has been part of our life. The day we sow seeds, we celebrate. The day we harvest our crop, we celebrate. The day child is born, we celebrate. The day someone dies, we also celebrate in another
But this
way.
is, I must say that we have to also remember this sense that we are the best as Indians. And I think what I learned when I was a Fulbrighter at the Smithsonian doing my cultural management, it was actually the first time I learned about being a global citizen, which I never learned in India. We are
Absolutely.
so full of ourselves that we are so rich. We are this, we are that. I think it is so, that's when I realized the value of Latin America, of the Aborigines cultures in New Zealand and Australia, of understanding Africa and Central Asia and West Asia, and even places such as the Nordic countries. We are so full of ourselves. Why are we ignoring the fact that Chinese also have so many things to teach us?
Absolutely.
Or the Japanese have so many things to teach us, or um, the wise versions, the wise talks of the indigenous American Indians or the Sami tribes of Nordic countries.
Yes.
So, the value of valuing nature, natural resources, was a universal wisdom of how human communities. So, I think, first of all, this whole thing about nationalism and, this puffing ourselves that we are what we are. the moment we do that, we stop hearing other voices.
Other voices. That's true.
And I think this is my greatest lesson, which I learned when I started working with street magicians and street artists, hearing their voices. Who are we to crib? They they live on nothing,
Absolutely.
and the way they sleep, the way they are happy, the way they come to terms with death and suffering. They are so rich. We are so poor. So I think some way the reason we stop growing is that when we stop listening and observing and recognizing that there's so much around us which is so beautiful. Small is beautiful.
Absolutely. Small is beautiful, and each one of us have to do little things in our own way. And like God lies in every being, I think art and also lies in every being. So we need to find out a way how we can express. And I think importantly, as you mentioned, each one should be able to express and should be given room to express. And art has been since antiquity a strong tool to bring a change in the society. And you are already giving me so many examples how things can be done and how you have been doing so far. So I do hope that we can take these conversations further as we have been doing. So I would really like to bring an end to this conversation for today, but this is a new beginning of conversation with you. How can we really get into everybody's heart and head and talk about water in a very, crafty way, in a very humorous way, in a very soft way, discuss this complex and hard issues and bring on table that let's sit together and have a very humble discussion and take it further the difficult problems.
I just hope that my Yamuna Ashtakam gets to be seen much more, because that's how,
Absolutely.
let's
Yes.
pray that that happens, because that is the only way. When you repeat things, a lot has gone, a lot of public money has gone in the making of
Yes.
it. And I
Absolutely.
really hope that this is showcased again and again.
Absolutely. We do hope that we bring Yamuna Ashtakam, because Yamuna is just a symbolic word, but that is what we are talking about, rivers in the country and in fact all small streams in the country. And we are able to really use the Behrupia model. I will be very keen to use the Behrupia modality to really take it further to every small district. And we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We have a system developed. We have to really find out those people who are always excited and willing to really do something for the society. We have to just bring them together. And water has that capacity. We call it the water has a connective capacity. And who better than people like Navina and many artists across the country who can do this for us and really bring the water issue back to the table, where water is not only sacred, spiritual, and we are very emotionally connected to it, but at the same time we start critically thinking where have we gone wrong and what can we do. So we accept that we have done something wrong, gone somewhere wrong. That is why Yamuna is now Kali. And how can we really bring a change into it? And definitely beyond science and technology, there is common sense and conscience, and all four of these things can be brought together beautifully by performing arts, all kinds of performing arts for that matter, as rightly described by Navina in many ways, how she is trying to do, right from street performance to dance to other forms. So thank you so much, Navina, for this conversation. I really enjoyed, and I hope everyone gets an opportunity to watch Yamuna Ashtakam. Probably we can, screen it at many places with your presence also at some places physically. And we really look forward to more Friday Waters, and also next Wednesdays for Water. We are coming back to our Lake and Pond series on 1st of March. And then we continue the Friday Waters conversation as we have been doing. Thank you again. And thanks a lot, Navina. Please take care of yourself, and we connect very soon again on doing something physically as well. Thanks.
Thank
And
you. Thank you.
thank you. Thanks
Thank
a lot.
thank you.